Hi everybody, today is Parasha Balak and we're in the Numbers and it's chapter 24 and it's verse 5 and it says, How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, thy dwelling places, O Israel, which is Matovo Elecha Yaakov, Mishkanotecha Yisrael. And this sentence is what gave me my hypothesis for my first book. I'll put a link down below in the description. And the book is the big tall book, which has got divinity written on the outside. This is the hardcover version. On the inside, when I open the book up, you'll see the sentence, Ma tovo elecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael, from right to left. That's that piece of Torah blown up. There it is in the top of this is called a tikkun. Each column in Torah is called a tikkun. And the first letter is what holds up the tikkun. And almost all of the columns have got a vav, and the vav is a hook, and we can talk about that. Please ask me about that. So, and then here's the commentary, which has got the Hebrew and the English and the commentary. This is called the Tanakh over here. This is called the Torah, with the scrolls of Torah on parchment. This is the thing blown up. Then I've got the Torah is an Enlightenment Toolkit. That's what I decided to call my book, because it's about Torah enlightenment, but it's specifically about the sentence, how beautiful, how good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. So I said, how does Torah help us move from the Jacob archetype to the Israel archetype? And an archetype is, if you think about an architect makes a drawing of a house, or a drawing of a bridge, or a drawing of a building, or a drawing of a castle, or a drawing of a conference center. And that's the architecture. So archetype is a word that defines the architecture of a human. And we have multiple archetypes. If you read Caroline Myss, she says we have 12 archetypes. 4 we all have in common, and then the other 8 are unique to us, although there's a lot in common with other people. So you can have lots of people sharing archetypes, but the 12 together give us our architectural map. And I've just taken 2 archetypes. I've taken the Jacob archetype and I've taken the Israel archetype. The Jacob archetype is in the dark. Okay, the Jacob archetype is in Mitzrayim, which is Egypt. Mitz means the dark place, and Egypt is is represented as the dark place, and Israel is represented as the light. And although we take these as being physical places, for example, in the Exodus from Egypt to Israel, and we're in the desert at the moment in the book of Numbers, if you look at this, then we're moving from the dark place to the light place, and it's represented as Egypt and Israel in Torah. So we've got something tangible to hold on to, but we're not talking about tangible stuff here. We're talking about metaphysical. So we have 4 bodies. We have spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. And by the time something manifests in the physical body, it's come down spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. So these are the 4 bodies we have, the 4 auras we have. We have multiple auras. These are the main 4 that we have. So the Jacob archetype is a masculine and feminine archetype, and the Israel archetype is a masculine and feminine archetype. So although we can look at Egypt in North Africa and we look at Israel in the Middle East or in Asia, depending on how you want to look at it, as a physical place, from a human psychic development point of view, from a soul development point of view, we're looking at Jacob becoming Israel. And now what's important is it says, how beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. So somewhere along the line, the tent became a dwelling place. And this is important because I look at it and say, well, this is your house becoming your home. That's an important thing because, let me just hold my book. It's so beautiful to have your own book that you can publish, and you can find the books on Amazon. You can find the books on Smashwords. You can buy the books from me in South Africa. You can buy the books print on demand. You can buy them on Kindle. Hope you don't mind this quick advert. The more books I buy, the more time I can have to write more books, make more videos. You really do help support me to do that. So thank you for the people that are supporting me mentally and also the ones that are buying my books. So Jacob, the archetype Jacob, masculine or feminine Jacob, becomes the archetype Israel, masculine or feminine Israel. Although people will look at Torah, the Old Testament, and say that they are men and women, they're all based around archetypes. They're all based around looking at the way we are and the way we built and our human architecture. So now we say that the tent became the dwelling place. The house became the home. If you think about it, you buy a house, it's a building. It has nothing in it. You put stuff in it. You put your rugs in it, you put your carpets, you put your curtains, maybe vertical blinds as I have in my office over here. You put your paintings and your pictures, and you put some, I've got the sustainable development goals, as you can see over here, to remind me of the work I do every day. And I've got other pictures around. I've got the picture of my book over here and my latest thriller, my first thriller, in fact, my latest book. And the house, as you live in the house, and as you start putting your own energy into the house, and as you start feeling the house, and as you start bringing your family into your house, and as you start bringing your children or your parents into your house, or your friends, or your relations, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or whatever the case is, or your husband or your wife, you make the house becomes a home, and you sit down at the dining room table, which in the Old Testament is represented as the altar. And when we sit at that altar, we bring God into the altar with us, onto the altar with us, and we eat with God at the table. We say blessings, inviting God to be at that altar with us. And so we have this move from a home, a building, which doesn't mean anything. If I leave my house, the house is just a house. When I'm in my house, when my wife is in my house, when our pets are in our house is a home. Beautiful, homely, warm, loving, generous, caring. And that home allows us to bring and lift up into the light. The home without us is in darkness. As soon as we enter the home becomes light. The tent becomes a dwelling place. The house becomes a home. And so we move from the archetype of negativity and darkness and so on to the archetypes of positivity and light. But we shouldn't say that darkness is bad. A seed is planted. The seed is underground. The seed is in darkness. The seed gets nutrition, nitrogen and fertilizer and other types of chemicals from nature. And fauna and flora are there. And they creating that warm environment for that seed to germinate. And after a while, the seed goes through. Here's the ground. The seed goes through the ground, and you see that breakthrough, the sprouting, as the seed, which has created little branches underneath, breaks through the ground, and you have Genesis. And when you see Genesis in the Torah, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, then that was the genesis of something moving through. And there was all sorts of stuff underneath here. And that's the Zohar. And that's what this encyclopedia here is about. And what this book over here is about. The Zohar. And that's what I'm studying. I'm studying what was God doing before Genesis. That's my latest research that I've been doing for the last few years. So we're not looking specifically at Egypt. We're using Egypt as a metaphor for darkness. And we're not saying that darkness is bad. For example, electricity, if you look at lightning in the sky, and you have the clouds and you have the earth is positive, the clouds are negative, and the negative energy goes towards the positive. The same as electrons. Electrons move from negative to positive. The sine wave, if here's the ground, the sine wave is positive, negative. But the negative doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that it's at the bottom of the pendulum swing. So here we have the top, pendulum swings to the side, pendulum swings to the middle, pendulum swings to the side, and we have that whole beautiful sine wave as nature moves. As we breathe in and breathe out, if you look at your heartbeat, you'll see that your heart rhythm is going in a kind of a sine wave up and down as you're breathing in and breathing out. We've got the cycle of life. When we die, we get buried, we become part of earth again, and then we become alive, and we're all recycled. We're all part of each other on this beautiful planet. We're in a closed system. The only thing that comes in is solar light. Sometimes people send spaceships and other things out. But most of the time, for billions of years, stuff has only come in and not ever left. And therefore, we're all recycled. We're all in each other. When people say, but I'm Jewish, or I'm Christian, or I'm Muslim, or I'm Tibetan, or I'm Buddhist, or I'm black, or I'm white, or I like coffee, or I like tea, or I'm gay, or straight, or lesbian, or bisexual, or all that stuff. It's all fine. It's all who we are. It makes us humans. It makes us all unique. 8 billion unique people on the planet. And I know that leaders, especially if they're warriors and military, they would like everybody to be the same. They give you a uniform and everybody looks the same. We have different ranks, but it's like puppets on a string. But in amongst that army, there are unique people that have unique capabilities. And the general should know and understand the abilities of his companies and of the people in those companies. So the negativity is the thing that creates the positive drive from the tent to the dwelling place, from the house to the home, as we move from darkness to light. And then we have night again, we have darkness. And then in the morning, the sun rises. Actually, the earth rotates towards the sun, but it's easier to say the sun rises. So I'm sure that the ancients knew, they did in fact know about atoms, and they knew that the earth rotated towards the sun, but it was too long to say, hey, how did you enjoy the earth rotating to the sun this morning? So they said, it was nice, the sunrise was nice, but the ancients, the Torah scholars, they knew about atoms, they knew the earth was round. They understood about the firmament. The flat earthers would like to say that the earth is flat and the firmament is here, and there's all the stars in the firmament. And that's fine. I don't mind flat earthers as long as they don't mind me. So we're all unique. There's 8 billion ways of relating to God. There's 8 billion ways of relating to divinity. And we're all recycled. We're all in each other. We all eat the same food. We all breathe the same air. I was in a meeting this morning with someone, and she said how horrible it is during load shedding because people's generators are running, and when her generator is running or neighbor's generator is running, she can smell the diesel fumes, and it's smelly and stinky and horrible. And I said to her, we have power stations which are out of sight. For example, Medupi, which is in the northwest of South Africa, and other power, Matimba, which is next to Medupi, and coal mines, they're out of sight. But all of that pollution that's being pumped out, all the chemicals, hundreds of toxins being pumped into the atmosphere and into the ground, ash and waste, and heat from electricity waste as it gets brought to Cape Town 2,000 kilometers away, and SOx, sulfur dioxide, and NOx, nitrogen dioxide, and acid rain. And we say it's all over there, it's all out of sight. But we're in a closed system. So as we pump more smog and pollution into the atmosphere, we're all breathing that air. So she says how horrible it is that we've got generators in the houses and it's causing smelliness. And I'm saying, but yes, it is horrible. We shouldn't really need it, but we need to run our lives. So we have generators. And if you have a solar generator, then there's also a generator. If you have a diesel generator or a petrol generator or a gas generator is called a gas engine from a technical point of view. A generator, after all, is an engine, goes around and around, creates a sine wave and creates electricity because of a magnetic force of different coils of cable wire that are running on the inside and running on that. And as they pass each other, they create this sine wave. And as they create the sine wave, they create electrical energy. And as the electrical energy goes up and down in a sine wave, creates electricity, and then the electricity comes out in my house. And it doesn't matter if my generator is a solar generator or wind generator. It doesn't matter if it's a coal generator or it doesn't. And all the coal is doing, the coal's not making electricity. The coal is making heat. Coal is burning. And then there's water in a container, and then the container is boiling and making steam, and the steam is running through a big fan. It's called a turbine, and that turbine's turning, and it's turning a shaft, which is making that electricity the same way that my generator at home, for example, makes electricity. So, and your car is doing the same thing in a similar way. The piston goes up and down, and as it gets to the top, the spark plug goes and makes an explosion. And because there's such a small amount of space for this air and the spark and the petrol and the so on all mixing there in the mixture, and then it pushes the piston down. So the piston goes down, and then the piston goes up, and the same thing happens again, thousands of times per minute. In fact, thousands of times per second potentially. And so as that happens, it moves a shaft, which moves the wheels, and so the car moves. And electricity is made in a kind of reverse way. We turn something, and because of the electrical coils, we're getting electricity out. And I'm telling you all this because we're all in this closed system. So whether there's smelliness because my generator is running in my garden or my neighbor, and I can smell the diesel fumes or the petrol fumes or whatever it is, and the power station is 2,500 kilometers away, then that pollution from that power station 2,500 kilometers away is affecting me. And if I've got a breathing illness or a respiratory illness, then perhaps it's because of that dirty power station. And if you've watched my other video I'm making during the week, then you'll see that I say, what is the most important thing in your life? And that in the next 3 minutes, what do you need? You need air. And that informs your whole life, because if you need clean air in the next 3 minutes, you need to have a clean and organic and environmentally friendly electricity system, and you need a clean and environmentally friendly and organic water system, and you need a clean and environmentally friendly and organic food system, and you need a clean and environmentally friendly and organic transport system. And all of those things, because of your long-term view, are all allowing you to have that 3 minutes of beautiful oxygen. And when you breathe beautiful oxygenated clean air, you don't get cancer. This is not medical advice. It's general. You can still get cancer for 1,000 other reasons, but at least you're not breathing bad air that's contributing to a cancerous environment. Consider in your car for an hour going to work, or in a bus or in a train with tens of thousands of people. And not only are you mixing all of their sicknesses and possibly some healthy things as well with each other, you're also mixing all of that pollution coming out of exhaust pipes, coming out of engines, oil dropping on the floor. You stop at the traffic light or the robot, you look at the floor and you see oil droplets on the floor. I'm a motorbike rider, and one of the things we know is that we mustn't ride for half an hour after it starts raining, because that's the worst and most dangerous time to ride a motorbike. Even a car, you've got to be careful, because the rain is getting rid of all the oil and other slippery stuff off the road. And oil is like a glue. So when the oil drips on the road, when it's not raining, it's not too serious for a motorbike to ride over it, although we still try and avoid it. But when that oil mixes with water for the first half an hour of rain, it becomes slippery like ice. So if I'm looking at it, it's 9:30 and it's just started raining, I'll wait till 10 and then go. And if I'm riding and it starts raining, then I'm really, really careful. I'm really, really careful in any case, but when it starts raining, I'm really, really, really careful. But here we are. We are breathing the same air. We've got the same bodies. I might look different to you on the outside, but on the inside, I'm the same. I've got ears, I've got a mouth, I've got a nose, I've got 2 lungs just like you have. I've got 2 kidneys. I've got skin, I've got hair, I've got teeth, still my own. I've got a tongue. I've got eyes, ears, nose. I can think, I can breathe, I can eat, I can go to the toilet, and I can live in this cycle with everybody. And I can go back to the beginning. Ma tovu elecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Israel. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel. Jacob becomes Israel, just as the tent becomes a dwelling place. Just as David is Jacob moving from the darkness in Egypt to the light in Israel. And just as if you're a woman, you're moving from the darkness to the light. And if you gender non-binary, then you're doing the same thing. You're moving from the darkness to the light. And if you're vaccinated, you're moving from the darkness to the light. If you're unvaccinated, the same thing. Everybody's moving from the darkness to the light. Everybody's making decisions. So there's so much possibility. I want to wish you Shabbat Shalom. I want you to think about how this prophet who was called in to curse the children of Israel comes out and says this incredibly beautiful blessing of Jacob becoming Israel because God was in his mouth. Thank you very much.